Welcome to Swords and Hammers, where truth comes clothed in tales, and the soul remembers what the mind forgets. The world is loud, but for these few minutes, it can wait. Settle in, and listen well. The Small Jar and the Merry Heart. A tale of Bramble the hedgehog. There was once a hedgehog named Bramble who lived at the edge of a small wood in a hollow beneath an old oak tree. It was a pleasant hollow, with moss for sleeping and a stone shelf for keeping things. But Bramble was not happy there, which puzzled him, because he could not think of any reason why. He had food enough. The wood was generous with beetles. He had shelter enough. The oak kept out the rain. Yet every morning he felt a heaviness in his chest, as if someone had placed a smooth, cold stone just behind his heart. On the stone shelf sat a small clay jar, very old and very empty. It had belonged to his grandmother, who had told him that a merry heart was like medicine. Bramble believed this, as one believes things one's grandmother says. He had decided that he must fill the jar with gladness, and then he would feel better. The trouble was that gladness was difficult to find. He would discover a patch of sunlight and try to scoop the feeling into his jar, but when he looked inside, there was nothing there. He would hear the stream singing and hold the jar close, but the jar remained empty. "Perhaps," Bramble said, one autumn morning, "I am not trying hard enough." And so he set out, carrying his grandmother's jar, determined to find enough gladness to fill it. He had not gone far when he met a wren on a blackberry bush, singing with great enthusiasm. "Excuse me," said Bramble, "but you seem very glad. Might I borrow some gladness for my jar?" The wren stopped singing and tilted her head. "I do not think gladness works that way," she said. "I am glad because I am singing. Or perhaps I am singing because I am glad. I have never been quite sure." "But how did you begin?" asked Bramble. "I opened my mouth," said the wren, and there it was. Bramble thanked her and continued on, but he felt no better. Opening one's mouth was not useful advice for a hedgehog who did not know any songs. Further along, he came upon a rabbit beside a clover patch, eating with methodical contentment. "Pardon me," said Bramble, "but you look content. Could you spare some for my jar?" The rabbit regarded him with mild curiosity. "I am content because I am eating," she said. "Clover is very good. Have you tried it?" "I'm a hedgehog," said Bramble. "We eat beetles." "Ah," said the rabbit, and returned to her meal. Bramble continued to walk on, determined, but his jar still empty, the stone behind his heart growing heavier. The wren could be glad by singing, the rabbit content by eating. But he had eaten his beetles and he had no songs, and still the hollowness remained. By afternoon, Bramble reached the oldest part of the wood, where trees grew close and light came through in golden shafts. Here, beside a quiet pool, lived an old badger named Coppice. Coppice was very old and moved slowly, but his eyes were kind. "Hello, young Bramble," said the badger. "You look tired." "I am tired," said Bramble, surprised to hear his voice shake. "I have been trying all day to fill this jar with gladness, but nothing stays. I think my jar is broken." Coppice looked at the jar for a long moment. "May I hold it?" Bramble handed it over, and the badger examined it carefully. "This jar is not broken," he said. "It is simply empty. Jars do not fill themselves. But I have been trying," said Bramble. The sunlight, the stream, the wrens singing, none of it would stay. Ah, said Coppice, you have been trying to catch gladness. That is different than from simply receiving it. The badger set the jar down. Tell me, he said, why do you want the gladness? Bramble thought carefully. Because my grandmother said a merry heart is like medicine, and I do not feel well. There is something heavy here. He touched his chest. I thought if I could make myself glad, the heaviness would go away. Coppice nodded. Your grandmother was wise. A merry heart truly is medicine. But you have made an error. You suppose that you must manufacture the medicine yourself. Is that not how medicine works? Not this medicine, said the badger. This medicine is given, not made. Bramble sat down heavily. But I do know I need it. I have been searching all day. No, said Coppice gently. You have been working all day. Working is what we do when we believe we must earn what we need. Receiving is what we do when we understand that we cannot. The afternoon light was growing golden. Bramble looked at his empty jar and felt something he had been trying not to feel. He was not enough. He could not make himself glad. He could not fill his own jar. He could not remove the stone by any effort. And then something strange happened. As he sat there, admitting that he could not fix himself, the heaviness began to lift. It did not disappear at once. That is not how such things work. But it eased, as if making room. What is happening? Whispered Bramble. Coppice smiled. You have stopped carrying what was never yours to carry. The heaviness was exhaustion. You have been trying to be your own medicine, and that is a burden too great for any creature. The badger then picked up the jar. This jar was never meant to be filled by catching. It was meant to be filled by being given to. A merry heart cannot be manufactured or stolen from sunbeams. It comes from outside ourselves, from a goodness larger than our small paws can hold. Bramble looked at the jar. It was still empty, but somehow different. It looked like a thing waiting to be filled. I do not understand everything, Bramble admitted, but I understand a little. A little is enough, said Coppice. Understanding grows much like trees, slowly, until one day we find shade where there was none. I think, said Bramble, that I have been tired for a very long time. Yes, said Coppice. That is what happens when a spirit tries to heal itself. It dries up, like bones in the sun. But you are not meant to be your own water. You are meant to be watered. What do I do now? You go home. You eat your beetles. You sleep in your moss. And when morning comes, remember that the medicine has already been given. You did not make it. You cannot unmake it. You can only receive it. One day at a time. Bramble picked up his grandmother's jar. It was still empty, but it no longer felt like an accusation. It felt like a promise. Bramble made his way home through the dark woods. The stars were coming out, one by one, like small, careful gifts. When he reached his hollow beneath the oak, Bramble set the jar on its shelf. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he lay down in his moss and closed his eyes. The stone behind his heart was still there, but lighter now. as if learning to float. And somewhere in the quiet, he could almost hear his grandmother's voice. A merry heart does good, like medicine. He had not filled the jar. He had not fixed himself. But he had learned what tired creatures must learn, that the medicine is given, not made. That gladness comes to those who hold out empty hands. That even a very small hedgehog is exactly the right size to receive a very great gift. And that was enough. For tonight, it was enough. Selah.